Dave, what are you hoping to get from James O'Connor? What's the sort of difference from his game compared to Reece?
Reece made a really good first of 10 for us and played an important role in those games. I think one area where James will have a point of difference is he'll tackle a lot squarer, which gives us a chance to sit down some defenders. Argentinians have been very good at pushing and sliding across to fill holes. So it's a real strength of his game to be able to play on top of defences, and then obviously his experience allows us to move Reece out a little bit wider.
Obviously Reece at full-back, another feather in his cap.
Yeah, it just highlights how versatile he's been over a number of years. So, obviously Rabs hasn't kicked a lot of ball in the last month, and so Reece will have the goal-kicking duties and do a lot of the touch finding and so on. But he's played a lot in the back three. He's played a lot of fullback for the Rebels, and so it's not an unfamiliar position.
What about the front row change?
Yeah, I've been tag teaming it really, haven't they? It's 3 test starts each, and so we give Alv a nod this week. I know Nella got a bit agitated last time out, and we've had a good chat about that. And him coming off the bench, he was really effective against the All Blacks last time he was on the Pines, and we think that'll be really important this week.
Where's Tom Banks' game at, in your opinion?
Tom's going pretty well. I guess where he would have been frustrated last time out was we had a number of times where he'd flattened off. There was a lot of space in front of him, but he got caught deep and missed the jump on 3 or 4 occasions. So, but look, he's gone well. He's contributed really well. Reece's selections as much around the goal kicking and other aspects to get him on the field with James coming back. So obviously his impact's going to be off the bench.
Was there anything you giving Noah another crack off the bench, or I know obviously on this era?
Yeah, it's just versatility. If Reece ends up covering midfield, then he's moving, for 10 and for midfield and so on. So we're happy that he'll cover wing. He'll cover fullback where he starts, and he can still give us cover at 10 if Rabs doesn't go over distance. So, and he's trained really well and deserves another crack.
If you think best case scenario going into summer make you a happy man, what do you want to see from the guys this week that will give you confidence that moving forward things are going okay?
Yeah, look, we've talked a lot about this being a springboard to next season, and so we're not talking about last test of the year and so on. We've worked really hard. We're disappointed last game out because really we should have won that, and so we're probably a bit naive, and as a group we've learnt a lot from that. And we saw it in the weekend with the All Blacks. When we were up 15-6, we need to force them to play and chase the game a little bit. And I think if we just plugged the corners, even for another 5 minutes, would have made a difference. So ultimately, what we want is just a quality performance. A reflection of all the hard work we've done over the last 10 and 11 weeks, and something to launch our season off next year.
Plenty of drama in the Argentina camp. How do you think that will affect their preparations?
Yeah, look, I guess once we see their team and what's named, we've prepared as if the guys I mentioned are going to be playing. And we don't think from a structure point of view they're going to change a hell of a lot anyway. So it may just be personnel. We've got no control over that, but we've prepared as if they'll have their best team out there.
It sounds like the UAR have backflipped on those suspensions, so you'd be hearing that, or you intend them think that they're going to play?
I'm not aware of that, but we thought we'd always wait until we saw the team. A lot of speculation in the media, and they rested a lot of their top backline last week. We'd expect a lot of those boys to be back in, and I guess we'll wait and see.
Rob Simmons, 106th test, I think, but we know where his future lay next year. Are you treating this as potentially his last testing goal?
I'm not sure if he is. I know he's loved his time in here, and he's been a massive contributor. Obviously it's a position that we've been pretty thin in. So his experience and he's made good shifts in his games. Really worked hard around his physicality and tackle, clean and carry. And so it's great to see a guy who's played 100 tests can still try and grow his game. So look, who knows? We're not going to bring an enormous amount of players back from overseas. It'll really depend on where we're really thin. Ideal scenario is that we're grabbing everyone from our competition. So to that end, that could be his last.
Just back on James, game management as well. Would that be maybe an important part of his? When you talk about his experience, the back end of the games we saw at Newcastle.
Yeah. I look at game management falls on more than just one person. So we just talked about it. Often they had 14 in the front line, and there was a lot of space to turn them around and not just to kick, but to shape their defence and to turn into a foot race. There were plenty of times where if we'd just nudged them behind, they had no one covering. So we've got to force them to rethink that defensive strategy. And we talked about it a lot going into the game. We missed a few opportunities to do that. But look, I have no doubt we're going to be better for it, and we need to see that this weekend.
Guys like Matt playing every test, and just on the hoops a second ago, he just gave us some indication of how intense back-to-back test matches are, and gave us some reference to Super Rugby. So, using that analogy, how tough has it been on these guys, and how special is it for a guy like Matt to have played up front in the middle for so many minutes? Yeah,
look, he's been massive. Real credit to him too, because he's made massive shifts in his game. During Super Rugby and with us. He's a line-out nut, as you've got to be, a sort of nerdy, love all the detail type of things. So he's been excellent around that. But his carry meters, he's really developed good footwork. He's a powerful man. He's got really strong pins, and so gets a lot of go forward. But it's been in his clean out. It's been most impressive for me. His ability to operate, sort of this far off the deck and get underneath defenders and eliminate threats and create quick ball. Look, he's had a great season, and if you look at guys like Harry Wilson, he's had a lot of rugby, played a lot of rugby for Queensland, started every game for us, and I no doubt those boys' bodies are feeling it a bit, but they're ready to go on the weekend.
Harry, you had a little ice pack on the knees, all right?
He gave us a bit of a scare on Tuesday, and got it scanned, but it was all good. So he's a young fellow, he's bounced back quickly.
Like not wanting to label the result on anything, but people like to. Is a win a pass mark for this first section for you, mate, in terms of the team and where it's going?
As a group, and this is from a management group point of view. We've been talking about where we're at and where we want to be. We've had a couple of tests that we should have won and didn't. We ended up drawing them, so that's frustrating. But the key for me is that we learn from it. We've certainly got a group of guys who I think the culture's been really good. They're really tight. They're working hard. They're learning lots. But I guess everyone wants to see that reflected on the field. That's what we want. So, a win in the weekend will mean that, we've got more to build on. But, certainly we had a chance of silverware if we'd got it right a couple of weeks ago. So it's disappointing.
Anything online, guys?
Dave, I'll jump in here. Chrissy here. People like Matt Phillip, Ned Hannigan, guys that have signed short-term contracts for overseas, is there a real desire to be able to bring them home and what they've delivered this Tri-Nations and the Bledisloe, has that reinforced the desire to try to get them to come back as well?
Yeah, look, both those guys are keen to come back as well. So they've signed short-term deals, knowing that they can come back and then still play for the Wallabies because they'll commit to Super Rugby beyond that. So that's good from our point of view. It gives them a chance to, I guess, get a different challenge and different lease on life. But they're both, they've enjoyed their time over the last 2 or 3 months and keen to get back into it.
Dave, Julian here. Just one of the big big sort of picture problems that rugby has in Australia and sort of competing against the other football codes for eyeballs and entertainment. Given that this is the last game of the season, do you feel any sort of sense of obligation to sort of add an entertainment element to the game, or is this purely about just winning? The last game, the 15-all draw, was panned by a lot of people for not being overly entertaining. Do you have any views on whether you have any obligation to entertain a bit more?
I suppose that's how you look at games, isn't it? Like, we dominated a big chunk of that first half. We created lots of scoring opportunities, but we didn't score tries. But what we're trying to do is grow our understanding of how to win games. And you get into games, especially with Northern Hemisphere sides that won't play an enormous amount of footy, and you've got to find ways of winning. And sometimes that's through smart kicking options that create opportunities to attack. And so, we definitely want to play, and we've certainly tried to grow our game around our skill set. But I think we've got an obligation to put in a quality performance, not necessarily entertained by throwing the ball all over the place at the risk of losing the game,